Looks like there's more to learn at Stabswell University than just how to stab. I think we've all heard more about tariffs over the last 3 days than we've ever had to hear about our entire lives. Games Workshop just released their This Week in Warhammer article, so looking through it, it doesn't look like they're planning on implementing any tariff increases this week, which is good because it's also the new Emperor's Children release. However, I'm sure the question's still at the back of everyone's minds. How likely is it that Games Workshop will increase Warhammer prices because of the US tariffs? And the answer is maybe.
Boo! You stink!
Yeah. I wish I had a more solid answer for you there. However, let's look at what that tariff rate would look like if they do go through with it. So I printed this off last night. The cost of a new Blood Angels captain is currently $42. President Trump initiated a 10% tariffs on all goods coming in from the United Kingdom. Let's check the back. There we go, made in the UK. So the question I first had was, okay, so if it's going up by 10, if new Games Workshop products come in from the United Kingdom, does that mean the price of a Blood Angels captain will go up $4.20? $4.20, nice. Thank you. The answer, surprisingly, is no. Here's why. So tariffs aren't determined by the MSRP. If the MSRP is $42, that means Games Workshop has a formula on the back end where they say, okay, it cost us this much to make. This is how much profit we want to make off it, and this is how much it can go for. So the tariff price would be implemented based on the cost of the product, the insurance of the shipment, and the freight. So we're going to have to do some funny math here. And honestly, the numbers I'm about to present may not even be accurate. I just want to break down what this could look like. So let's say Games Workshop is selling the Blood Angels captain for $42. Let's say they want 20% gross profit. Well, 20% gross profit, again, we're thinking gross, not net, would be $8.40. Because it's $4.20 times 2. Because we already figured out that 10% earlier. Let's say that Let's say Games Workshop is kind and lets the friendly local game stores selling the Blood Angels captain get a 10% gross profit too. Now, here's a good example of where this math doesn't break down. Some local game stores were seeing 5% net profit. So just for sake of keeping the math easy, I'm going to say, okay, well, if it's 5% net, maybe it's 10% gross. So even if the math is a little suspect here, on the firm bottom line of what's observed in friendly local game stores, I would love to hear any comments below from local friendly game shop owners on their gross and net profits, just so I can have a better idea of how to do this kind of math moving forward. So let's say they get 10% gross. That leaves us with $25.20. And that's where we get the cost, insurance, and freight metric for tariffs. Let's pretend that it does take Games Workshop $25.20 to manufacture this model, package it up, send it from Nottingham to their distribution center in Tennessee, and then to me in the place where I live. That all equals out to $25.20. Again, we're making some of these numbers up just because we want to come up with a nice number for easy math. So $25.20 at 10% tariff equals $2.52. So with a $42 MSRP, we see that the new price of this Blood Angels Captain would be $44.52 with tariffs. I'd imagine that any retailer or even Games Workshop themselves would probably look at this and say, let's just round it up to $45. Now, thankfully, the math here works pretty easily because Games Workshop does a great job of manufacturing everything in Britain. So the model, the cardboard box, and the instructions are all printed in Great Britain. Here's what makes it easy for Games Workshop, is that they've done a fantastic job of keeping their supply chain tight and controlled. The model is molded, manufactured in Nottingham. The box is printed in Nottingham. The instructions are printed in Nottingham. So everything goes straight from Nottingham to the distribution center in Tennessee, and then from there it goes out to the rest of the United States. So the Games Workshop supply chain is well insulated from tariffs. However, if we look at more complicated products, like say an iPhone, more complicated products like iPhones will see a global supply chain. They source different bits from the US, from Japan, from South Korea, from China. So that will influence how the base CIF, cost insurance freight of an iPhone, is calculated with the tariffs. So we'll probably see major markups in tech, but surprisingly little markups in Warhammer. I should be spending less on Warhammer. These tariffs are a good time for us to work on our piles of shame anyway. But yeah, going through this, I do feel a little bit better about the tariff situation on Games Workshop. Other companies based out of Great Britain have not been so lucky. For example, Jaguar Land Rover has decided to stop shipping all orders to the United States for now, as they decide what to do about the tariffs. Jaguar sources most of their stuff out of Great Britain, so that itself isn't the problem. It's that there's also a 20% import tariff on automobiles. So any and all automobiles coming into the United States also have a tariff on top of everything else related to them because they're an automobile. And again, there can be other specific country-based tariffs. Like I said, the 20% is based for any and all automobiles coming into the United States. So this 10% tariff for Great Britain would bring that up to a 30%. There's actually a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs like BYD. So with the 54% effective tariff that President Trump announced, again, that's 34% from Friday. No, 34% from Thursday. That's calculated from the 34% President Trump implemented on China. That's calculated from the 34% tariff on China, plus a 100% existing tariff on Chinese EVs. So that's why we don't see any BYD vehicles going down American highways. So tariffs are interesting. The tariff maybe that's what I should title this video. The tariff situation is crazy. Maybe not, I don't know. But, well, it is crazy. But not for Warhammer. So I'm not worried about tariffs on Warhammer for now. I'm sure they'll announce it sooner or later. Now, one could say, oh, why doesn't Games Workshop just eat the price of tariffs by pulling it out of their gross profit? Again, that's the gross, not the net. Who knows how much they actually net? This is just an imaginary gross we came up with for easy mental math. So, what are your thoughts on the tariff situation? Is this going to affect how you buy Warhammer? Or is the 3D printer about to go brrr? Let me know down below. If you like what you see here, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Painting's normally my jam, but I do like talking business where it's interesting. This is actually my second video I've done on global business of Warhammer. But if you're interested in learning more, go ahead and stick around. I like talking about stuff like this as well as painting. We have a couple of tanks that I need to get off my pile of shame, so stick around for that. Hey, thanks so much, everyone. Bye.